All right. Well, hopefully you've gotten a start on the assignments that we talked about on Tuesday. If you did not attend on Tuesday for whatever reason that would be, I can't imagine. There is a recording in the announcements. Watch that and then do as instructed in that video. We do have admissions coming up for Weber State. Since everybody in this class should already be admitted, that's an easy one. We just have to get you registered for the correct course by February 4th. Make sure you are signing up for CMT 2360. That is the course that we are doing. Should be available to you. The sooner you do that, the better, because you don't want to forget. That is a 4-credit class, so that's going to cost you a little bit more, but not as much as last semester. So last semester did 2 classes, this semester 1. Any questions on concurrent enrollment that you guys might have? Seeing none, we'll continue on. It's gonna be one of those days, is it? All right, what I want to do here with you guys today is get a little bit more in depth on what it is you're actually doing, so you can start collecting those ideas. Because we are not doing a drawing on the on Revit this week, we're going to be a little bit behind. So we have to do a little quick run through of getting everything done when we get back. Hopefully people are up to speed on it. You will need to bring with you on Tuesday of next week your bubble diagrams. So let's talk about what a bubble diagram is. Anybody have a question on what a bubble diagram is? Still a lot big. Okay.
Can you give us an example, please?
Yes, I can. That would be really good to do. Pull one up here for you.
Friends would walk
Sorry,
up to me
sorry,
and be
you
like,
got the wrong
"What the
thing
fuck
there.
is in your mug?"
That's for later.
And I
We'll
would
do
just tell
that
them.
later. That's a later thing. Okay, can you, did you see a screen come across?
Sorry, what?
Did you see the screen change?
No, it was just you and then the canvas.
You guys are so awake. You
No,
guys
it's
will be
just you.
a very, very long meeting if you guys are talking with. Very complex. All right, this is an example of a bubble diagram. It's nothing more than just arranging how you want things to be connected. So in this case, I don't even know what kind of building this is. It looks like it might be, looks like a spa. It's a little beauty salon. So you have your entry, and there's using arrows. Arrows typically designate traffic flow or hallway direction of how you want people to move through a space. They the size of the bubble usually indicates its importance. So in this case, we have an entry, we have a cashier. The sales floor would most likely be where beauty products are, hair care products are located. There is a restroom off of that. Even if a commercial space would rather not have public restrooms, they are still there with the expectation that they are available in emergencies for the public. So most commercial places will make them publicly available. There's a few who choose not to, and that tends to be more of a detriment to the business than they'd like. We have a central core to our building. Commercially, we try and keep elevators and stairs together. They're both that vertical transfer of path. And so it's a good idea to work them together. One reason for that is we can wrap the stair around an elevator. The other reason is it keeps the fire code kind of happy, because we cannot have any hallway that is longer than 20 feet without an exit for fire egress. So you have to kind of keep that very much in mind as you go about your designs this semester. So this is kind of a little hub type layout. That's really just what it is. So we have a coloring room. There's a lounge to sit while you wait the half hour for the color to take. There's a little color bar where they mix the color. For those of you who do your own hair color, and you go down to the local Walmart or Target and buy off the shelf, that is not how it's professionally done. They're chemically mixed. So a hairstylist will typically go to a cosmetology school, and a big part of that is chemistry, where they learn to mix hair color. You don't just buy it out of a bottle in a good salon, in case you're wondering. And then we have an exit or back entry. So notice we've had cashiers in both places. So we have a cutting and styling area here, and then just a place for people to stay and hang out. So that's a brief bubble diagram example on there. I'm going to try and give you one more here that is a little more basic. It's just going to take me a minute to switch our screens out because it's a little different format. So let's just stop share. And let's see if I can get this to zoom up again. And I'll just share again. I really thought by marking you guys all absent last time, more of you would shown up today, but that's okay. Oh, I just did the same one. So sorry about that. Okay, so on this one that we're looking at now, I hope you can see that these are much more, I guess, randomly laid out. So color is a big part of a bubble diagram. So what you're going to be looking at with your project is you have different parts of that that'll be somewhat private area. Some parts of it will be very public. Some will be very much more business oriented. So it's just more of utilitarian. So color may be a way to help you organize what's going on with your area. So right here, this one on the upper left is a bubble diagram for a house. And since you're familiar with that, kind of gives you an idea that we have yellow, our private spaces. The kind of the orange brick color tend to be more utilitarian, like the bathrooms. The slate color, the blue, are public spaces. And then the white tends to be kind of that quasi private versus public area. So more of just a standard layout. But they can be very, very simple. The fact that it's a bubble doesn't have to be round. You can use any geometric shape you'd like. Some people like to use templates. Some just like to take a Sharpie and go for it. I usually do a Sharpie. One of the reasons I use a Sharpie marker, you can't erase it. It's there. And so you're kind of committed. You then want to probably do at least 3 variations of the layout to get close to what you intend to have your project look like. And you just submit the one for the grade that you like the best. Now, if you decide to change your design, you then need to do that relatively quickly. Again, we're looking to have this whole thing modeled and dimensioned and noted by the end of 3rd quarter. We can maybe go a little bit over, but what I have planned for 4th quarter, we then need some time to do. And so you then need your project to be finished in order to do that aspect of the course that I have planned for you. Okay. Any other questions on bubble diagrams? Does that help?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering if on the assignment on Canvas, you could put the information for the project, because right now it just says make a bubble diagram, but it doesn't say what you need on the bubble diagram.
All right, let's jump over and look at that real quick so you can kind of see how that kind of was intended. go. And I gotta figure out which, where I put your assignment. Haha. It's got a lot of windows to share with you today, so that's what I want. Let's go with. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do it a little bit differently. I'm gonna pull this window in, just because I think it'll be a little easier for what we're gonna do here. Can you see the course there now? Does that come up for you guys?
Not yet.
Not yet, because they hit the button. How's that?
Now I can see it.
Okay, so here's the course. And when you guys come down and you look at your commercial project link here, it's going to open up the module. Not to the new one. That is a problem. I need to fix that. Okay, so I messed up there. Sorry. Should open up to this part right here, spring 2022. I need to fix that link. I missed it by one step. So you have the project requirements, and if you work, I should have set this up so you had to read each thing in order. I don't know if you guys really like doing a course that way, so I kind of didn't do that. But here's the project scope. So this is the instruction for the scope. We'll look at that and spend some time on that. That is actually where we're going to go to next, Eden. So you guys are doing a ranger station for any of the 417 parks in the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska in that mix. I don't care which park you choose, but be mindful that different parks have different climate environmental issues to deal with. So if you're doing a park in Texas, Arizona, or Nevada, you may want to have a little different outlook on how you treat solar issues there. If you're dealing with a park in Alaska and Hawaii, you have two different extremes there. Hawaii stays a pretty constant 72 degrees, except during storms, but a lot of rain. And then in Alaska, you're dealing with some extreme, extreme cold, and then a lot of water. Alaska is an official rainforest, so you want to kind of be aware of those issues in there. Okay, so it just depends on what park you want to do, and so you have to be aware of that because you have to do a little bit of research about that area in order to address the issues of the final design. How much sun is exposed, how much temperature swing is there. All that's going to affect the type of wall you design, as well as the way the building faces, the way its roof is laid out. So that's going to be a big part of it. So that's in that first area there. Public parks currently cover about 84 million square acres. So we kind of have to be aware of that. So your design, your challenge here is you're going to design, it could be a single building or a compound of buildings that make up this ranger station. And there's lots of different ones. We'll look at a couple of different designs that are on public record that we can look at to kind of get you thinking about things a little bit. You're going to identify, like I said, you have to identify location. Ultimately, if you want to compete with this and get a chance to go to Texas, and from what I understand, the district is extremely generous with those that go on to competition. This is a TSA competition. The competition's in March. We will not have the project done, but I'm hoping you're done enough that we can compete with it for those that want to. I can take 2 teams of 6 to the state competition. If we have a team that wins first, and you go to Dallas this summer, the state of Utah is going to give you $300 towards that trip. The district's going to match that $300. And in the past, the total amount that has been needed has been right around $800 for the week-long trip. Now you have to have money for food on that as well. Food in the hotel we stay at is extremely expensive. We will not eat in the hotel. I'll take you over to a little town called Grapevine, just outside of Dallas, where we'll go to a Target or a Walmart and purchase foods items there to get you through the week with. So it's a little bit cheaper that way. We will have a night that we go to a Texas barbecue, just to have a, I mean, it's Texas, you have to kind of do that. And then there's some other things that we'll do depending on what the schedules are. So we'll talk more about that as we get closer. We get you to class, so it's a little more exciting than this. So your design has to have a minimum in the minimum of the design. Now you can add more elements than this. As you look at your research, you may want to. Has to have a main living area, has to have a full kitchen facilities, has to have a pantry, and that pantry, I'm going to tell you, needs to be rather extensive. They may only restock staples, sorry, not standard, staple items like flour, sugar. Those may be only stocked once a month. Fresh produce, maybe every 2 weeks. Dairy, maybe every 2 weeks. So dairy is gonna be a little tricky one. So we don't get a lot of food into some of these places we're after. You also have to make sure you have at least 4 computer station areas. These need to be relatively screened or private. This would be how a ranger would communicate with family at home through like a Zoom meeting or a video call. It may be just where they're working on items that are of personal nature. So it doesn't need to be private, but that needs to be at least screened. You need to have a meeting room that will be a place where all 12 rangers can meet. You have to have some storage. That storage needs to include places for personal gear, all season camping gear, emergency response gear. So quite a few things. Laundry facilities. You need sleeping areas for the 12. You could do, you could do like a bunkhouse setup, but remember, rangers are both male and female. So you may want to think about gender issues in that situation. Nightstands, foot lockers, 3-drawer dresser to put their clothes in. Every sleeping area needs a window. That is not only good for sanity, but is required by the fire code. The design could have a deck or porch, place to relax on, or just to serve as a type of function. Then needs to probably be a public place in this. People will often come in and get help. They might need maps. They might need firewood. A lot of the forest services, you can go buy a bundle of wood that they've collected. So forest rangers do a lot of manual labor. These rangers will take dead logs and they'll spend the day chopping and cutting that in. They sell that. That helps to help offset the costs that are there. A forest ranger is going to be here for 10 months of the year. So it's got to be comfortable. It's got to have some recreation area built into it. So you want to kind of think about that. You need to think about how do they get all the amenities. How are you going to deal with sewer? How are you going to deal with power? How are you going to deal with cooking and cooling and heating and all those things? So those all have to be addressed. And that's what your bubble diagrams to take care of. Your site plan or the lot that's going to be allowed to build this on is 150 feet by 200. At a 1/4 inch equals a foot scale, that will fit on a 2 foot by 2 foot board. So you'll be building a physical model of your project, and that will be that's part of the competition requirements as well. And you'll also be submitting what's called a lead energy analysis of your project. It has to be extremely green in design. That is a huge requirement of the federal government, is that the buildings are green in design nature. So we'll be doing that as well. So does that help, Eden? That's kind of the scope of the project right there.
Yes, that helps. Thank you.
Yep. So, but yeah, I should probably just have to go each one in order, but we only had literally a day to re-switch everything for this week. And so I missed setting up that way, but that's okay. We'll get through it. Okay. So that's kind of the bulk of what we're looking at here. What I want to do next is I'm going to pull in a couple of examples so you can get an idea of what those are like. For those that weren't here on Tuesday, we don't meet the full 3 hours session. One, that's a long time being Zoom. And two, you wouldn't pay attention to me anyway. So we won't be here very long, but I do want to bring you into a few examples of what these can be like. Try to figure out which one I want here first. Okay. Did the new window just come on the screen for you?
No, we're still on the last page.
The
Oh,
project.
there we go.
Does it change now?
Yeah, it's in habitat.
Thank you. Just making sure you're seeing it. Sorry if your liver's dying on the ads over here. That applies to you. Good. Okay, so this is a Inhabitat is an architectural firm. This is a lead design for the and it's a gold level for Mojave River Ranger Station and the Mojave Desert. So it's a U.S. project. On this side, kind of look at this is kind of similar to what you're doing. In fact, I think from what I've been able to research, this is the kind of the inspiration for the TSA competition. So, and I wish I could zoom up on it a little more. I can try and do some crazy stuff here. This is what it looks like from the outside. Because it's in the Mojave Desert, it's going to be very much sandstone in color. Stucco is the main material here. But it is supposed to be a public place as well. So kind of think of those things. I'll go back just a little bit here of the floor plan, maybe. You've got offices, you've got work areas, restrooms. You've got places in here that are quite large. I mean, think about how people would use a ranger station. You really have to plan for, you don't know how large that camping excursion is going to be. For instance, in Utah, one of the favorite hikes for many people in Utah is Angel Landing. Starting this year, only 100 people a day can now do that hike. So that's a pretty good hike. But where do people go in? They register for that hike, where they pay their admittance fees. So think about all the ways that this building, not only is it a place for these rangers to live, but it's also got to meet these public uses as well. Most of the national parks do have emission requirements now for paying a fee or what's allowed to go in. They might check your boat to make sure everything's dry, that you're not bringing any parasitic fish or crustaceans into the waters. We do that quite a bit here for some of those more aggressive outside oysters and clams that get into your system. As you can see, the design is built to mimic the environment you're in. So you want to know the park that you're going to work with a little bit, and Google Earth will help you with that to get down and see the environment, look around it a little bit on that street level view, feel that like what it's like, look at what colors you see there in that area. This is an open ductwork ceiling here. That's your choice. You can do how you would like on your design. This is a single slanted roof or a shed roof with what are called clear stories. So these windows up here above the main roof line, those are all called clear stories. Lots of glass here. Again, this is supposed to be inviting to the public and to make it a place that they feel they can get the answers they need or the help they need in a time of crisis. One thing you might consider, depending on where you are placing your design, is you may need a smoke tower. And a smoke tower is really basically a lookout tower where a ranger on duty can look for smoke to see if there's a possibility of a forest fire about to start, or if emergencies are there. You're trained, those rangers are trained to recognize the difference between a campfire and a fire that's starting to spread as more of a wildfire. So they need a place to see that, because a lot of times if you're looking at 84 million acres, you're not going to be able to walk that whole thing and survey it. But hopefully kind of give an idea of what this is like. It's a pretty nice building, lots of walking space. a lot, very thick walls. If you look at the wall thicknesses, again, they're, in this case, the wall thickness is to help keep the building cool and not let the heat come through. So, but again, it's also to keep the building warm at night. Has anybody been to the Mojave Desert? That's here today. Okay. It's very warm during the day, but at night it gets down in the 30s. So this is what's called the thermal mass wall. It is predominantly concrete, so very thick wall here. So it's concrete with a stucco on the exterior. Then the heat of the day, that wall is going to soak up heat, and then at night it releases that heat to the cooler space inside. So this is an example of their solar effect. We go back there a little bit. They do have solar panels on the roof. They've got a reflective surfacing as well to take off some of the heat. We don't want heat from sun on solar panels. What you want is the light, not the heat. And so we've got reflective systems there. The trellises outside of the walkways are louvered or slats in there. So they create the light can get through, but they also cast a shadow, which is what you see here in this kind of view. Even though that's got opening in it, and you can see that in the shadow, it's still going to provide a fair amount of shade and keep that functional space. But yeah, you want to be able to figure out why you're doing what you're doing and how that's going to work. This also has geothermal heating and cooling. And what that is we're going to take the heat from the inside of the earth and use that to heat the inside of the space. And with likewise, we also use the same process to cool. And we'll talk more about that as we get everybody to class. It's a pretty interesting concept as we work through there. But that kind of gives you an idea of kind of what you're looking at. Again, very similar to what we did last semester with your housing. Fully dimensioned, electrical's got to be there, building sections, wall section. Some of you might have to do a couple wall detail sections because of the nature of what you're doing. But we really start thinking about what park you want to be in and what that building should look like for that park. That's kind of the big part of this. So this, I'll put in this, well, I don't know if this will be, this is just an architect's website. I don't know if this will be of value to you, but well, I'll see about sharing that with you guys later. Let me give you another one here. I'll just give you a couple of looks. This is a study, a floor plan study that's coming up on the screen now. Similar a little bit to a bubble diagram, a little bit more defined, however. In this case, it is a complex for a park in, I think this is up in Washington State is where this is at, if I remember where I got this from. Again, here we have firewood. Oops, let me go back again. This is for firewood. You can purchase your firewood here. There's, I have to, sorry about these aren't my files. Men and women's locker rooms. You've got maintenance shops to repair things. You've got reception and visitor areas. You've got conference space. Let's see. You've got map rooms. Believe it or not, people still need maps. GPS doesn't work so good in some of our parks. There's no towers there for the signal. I don't know if you've been listening to the news lately, but that was one of the reasons why our big mobile networks were pushing the 5G system here in the United States. Is the 5G in the US is 8 times stronger than what it is in Europe. And because of that, it's got the airline industry is a little concerned about the signal conflicting with what goes on in aircraft. So right now everything's on hold, but that 5G signal would penetrate deeper into our wilderness areas in the United States. So there'd be more cell phone coverage. And in that respect, more people could be found or saved if they are lost or injured out in the wilderness. So that was one of the main reasons for pushing to 5G. The other reason for 5G, since we're talking about buildings, 5G allows for more automation of things like robots within your house. So the Rumby robot could then take instructions better as it cleans your floors from your mobile device rather than just run a pre-programmed route. You can actually say, hey, today I don't want you to do the living room. I want you to focus on the bedrooms and just do bedrooms instead, and redirect that robot what to do. It allows you more control over your security systems, your lights. So there's a lot of pluses for the 5G. So think about how you may want to automate some of what's going on here. You can do that with solar. Part of your research should be how many solar panels do you need for how much square footage, how much wattage is going to come off those power panels, and what do you need to supplement it with, or do you need a generator in there? What do you need depending on where you're at as you're working through there. But yeah, this is part of a complex. There's a main building here, and then different cabins that are out in the rest of the complex here. Just gives you another little look. I hopefully get a little excited about it. I think it's kind of I kind of like the project because it is a good mix of residential, which you're familiar with the commercial side of things. And as you work through that, questions at this point?
Yeah, what are the rules on me getting help from my dad?
There's no rules against that. I think that's
So like whenever I'm home, I can ask him for his ideas, ask him for help.
absolutely.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
if you know someone in the industry that's in interior design, construction, architecture, and they're a resource, absolutely go for it. Last year, I had a student whose mom was an interior designer, and he utilized her expertise on several things. So absolutely, yeah. Research is research, and how you get that research is really up to you. And I would encourage you to use people in that. And you know, if your dad gets excited about it, wants to come and talk to the whole class, we could do that too. I'm not opposed to doing it.
Awesome.
Oh, so that'd be kind of fun, huh? Of course, you
Yeah.
have to be on time.
It'd be nice.
It would be nice. It is so early in the morning for you now, but that's good.
Yeah.
This next one is an interior space of a forest station, ranger station. This one's a little not quite so woodsy, not quite so environmental, very much more governmental structured building. The government does things very blah. Okay, so I kind of want to just kind of go through here just a little bit. This is just one of the main offices. Again, nothing more exciting than what you'd see maybe in a principal's office, even the chairs. So on this project you're doing, go ahead and make it more appealing, because the Forest Service is really trying to change a little bit how they're perceived. They're not just there to save people who get lost in the wilderness. They're actually there to teach. There's a lot of teaching that goes on. If you've been to Yellowstone, you have been probably part of those forced teaching sessions where the rangers tell you about what you're about to experience walking across the volcano, which, by the way, they're now watching very, very carefully this week, since Tonga is going what they're going through. You guys are aware of Tonga, right? Anybody not aware of what's going on in Tonga?
Volcano exploded, tsunami.
Yeah, so right now that volcano is currently the largest volcano eruption in recorded history, meaning observable by man. We have past that we've looked at as far as geological record, but this one was the size of 50 megaton bombs. So 50 times the damage done to Hiroshima. Okay, gives you an idea of that. It's a new island being created from the little T-10 one that was there before. There's no drinking water on the island. It's all contaminated with the ash, and they will not have any rescue efforts there until tomorrow, when they'll get in there. Australia is trying to fly through the ash. They've got one plane that's going to make one stop sometime in the next 3 or 4 hours. They'll be able to land for no more than 90 minutes before they have to get the plane out of there, because while the ash in the air still. There was at least 4 feet of water covering the entire Tongan island, and nobody knows what's going on with the outer islands of the country. There's zero contact with them. The volcano took out the Pacific communication lines, the big old cables that go across the bottom of the floor of the ocean. And so no cell phone, no internet, no landlines, nothing. So it's a pretty scary time for them. So if you have anybody that's a friend or over there right now that was on vacation at Tonga, hope the best for them. Kind of crazy. But Yellowstone is one of those parks that we are watching kind of close right now. And those rangers give a lot of instruction about where to walk and where not to walk. And every year someone gets stupid and does something bad and falls in. Again, this is the outside of this station. Extremely boring building, very, very boring. Not even slightly appealing. This is what happens when the government does not give direction to an architect. You get just exactly what they asked for. And I'm asking you guys to push this a little bit further. This is their break room, kitchen, work area all in one. Don't do this to an employee. Here's the window over here on the left where they talk with people coming up to get help. Their fridge is right here. They've got a microwave oven. This is their break room as well. There's where they eat. People need to be able to live here. Again, for the one you're doing, they're going to be there for 10 months of the year. So that make it comfortable, make it not institutional. If it starts to look like a school, you need to do something to soften that up. You can still use commercial materials like the gridded ceiling. You can still use tiling on the floors. This is actually what's called vinyl composite tile. That's what's the floor that's in the classroom here. It's great, it's durable, it lasts 50 years, doesn't fade, doesn't go away, but it's hard to stand on for long periods of the day. So think about what materials you're using, how that's gonna flow through there. This is another angle of that same space. Very, very sterile environment. Here's where the public comes in. Here's the maintenance room, just right off the public side of things. Just not a really, yay, 88, yeah, but our drinking water's in the bathroom. Now, I don't know about you folk, but that's a little scary to me. That's their drinking water stored in their restroom. I probably wouldn't do that, but it's them, it's their choice. You want to be able to put these grab bars on your model. Every restroom has to be ADA compliant in a federal building. There's no exceptions. So even if your rangers are all perfectly able people, every restroom has to be ADA compliant. It's kind of how we have to work that, which means these grab bars will be not only in around the water closet, but any tubs or showers will also have grab bars that you need to put on there. And so just kind of keep that in mind as we get talking more about handicap code and what's going on there to get them in it. Ollie, yes, you had a question.
So do you still like need to do that for every like place where there's a toilet, or can you do that where it's like only one toilet has the grab and then there's three others that are just normal like toilets,
Yeah,
like in the same like place?
yeah, because this is a federal building, everyone. Now you could, especially back in the housing area, everyone has to be ADA compliant. Otherwise, the federal government can be sued for discrepancy on employee. In the public area, so if you've got the retail shop or a place where people buy maps or camping gear, if you decide to go one of those, and you have a public restroom, you'll have to figure out how many of those restrooms stations are handicapped. There's a formula in the building code that will pull up, and you'll calculate based on the square footage of your building. So the public side of things, you can do a mix of non-handicap and handicap. But think about this as well, as women's restrooms are much easier designed that way, because it ends up like you have two handicap stalls. They're 5 foot by 5 foot squares. You got the bars. Men's are a little trickier because you have to mount the urinal at a different position on the wall. And we'll talk a little about that. We'll actually probably do a little walk through the building here and go into the restrooms on our floor here to look at the difference between handicap and non-handicap public space there. So in the employee area, every facility is handicapped. In the public area, it's based on square footage of the building. a lot of crazy codes. So yeah, it's a lot. The commercial code is 3 times as thick as the residential code. So it's and you guys pretty much know the residential code just out of doing the house. You know, the hallways are 3 feet, stairways are 3 feet, windows are 42 south to 4. You can kind of memorize that stuff, and because most of it's just legal words to get that all described. With the commercial code, it really is getting in there and digging into what material you can use in the space. So we'll be creating some new walls for you, depending on what your design needs are, and kind of go with that route. Okay. Any other questions on Ally? Did that help?
Yeah, that was my only question. Thank you.
You bet. So I'm trying to see, someone came in, but I don't know who it was. Can't tell. Okay. See if we got anything else. Again, it's a nice little building, but pretty boring. And just kidding. I don't want you doing anything like this. I want you to put some real thought into the exterior of this facility. Make it something you'd want to visit. I would probably go nuts working in an environment like this. It's just drive me crazy. So anyway, that's just kind of a what to not do type example. It still functions. It still does what it needs to. It's just not exciting, and we need to accept it. Okay. Questions from anybody here who were not here last time? Have any questions about what happened last time in class? So what do you do your bubble diagram on? You can do a bubble diagram on any piece of paper. Line paper works. If you've got like a notebook paper, that's fine. If you can find just a piece of printer paper, it's usually a little easier to not have lines going on there. At least for me, I get distracted and follow the little blue lines a lot. But you can do that bubble diagram on just about anything you'd like on there, and that will help keep you organized. We got a chat. Sorry, I'm trying to watch all these things that are going on here. Yeah, it was Zayden on your connection. It was not connecting to sound for a while, and I just didn't know if you knew that. So I think you're okay there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, what do you? This is kind of, I don't know. What are there any questions about the class in general that you guys might have other than the project here? Anything come to mind? I know I should see you all hopefully Tuesday. I have no idea how many of you will be here because I don't know who has COVID now. So, add a link. So, any questions for the class in general? Any concerns? None at all. Okay. Cool. Anybody interested, at least in this group, that would be interested in pushing towards getting a piece ready for a competition in March to attempt to get to Dallas? Yeah,
I would.
okay. So on those competitions, like I say, you can have up to 6 people help you, or sorry, up to 5 help you, so total 6. Or you can do it all solo. Solo is a little bit of a push, but it can be done. And so we can definitely push towards that on there and get you set up on that. So I think that'd be kind of fun. But,
so if we want to do it as a group, do we like share the project and we can all work on it at the same time, or
yes.
how does that work?
What'll work is you'll have an Autodesk account, and you'll save your project to your Autodesk account, and then connect back down through each other through that. It's a little tricky. If we have any problems with firewalls on that, the other option is we just put a shared OneDrive for you to all work in and kind of work on that. But yeah, if you want to pull people out of the class and work on one project, typically what we would do on there is you'd agree on the bubble diagram, which is why those are so important. and then you would make copies for each other. You divide out who's doing what aspects of the building, and you'd work on those parts of the building while the others work on other parts. And then we merge them together, so to speak. So you're literally all six of you could be working on the same plan at the same time. So coordinating, talking is gonna be really important. Sitting by each other, hugely important. So if that's something you want to do, Jack, if there's people you want to work with in the class, that would be great. It does go quite a bit faster when you have people to work with. It does make a big difference.
Okay.
And so we will definitely talk a lot about that. That would have been the bulk of today's discussion, but with only 10% of the class here right now, it's really hard to have a discussion without 90% of people. So, but yeah, that's gonna be a big push. So Tuesday is primarily gonna be making sure everybody's got the concurrent enrollment. And if you want to do groups, let's get you grouped and work on those together. So good question. That's a really good question. Yeah.
I mean, I would actually love to work with anyone on that's in this class right now, because it shows that they are actually here to do what's needed to be done to get the class work done. And it really shows versus all the people who aren't here on the Zoom call and aren't trying to put in the effort to actually get stuff done in this class.
I appreciate that. I don't know where the idea came from that we didn't have any meetings this week, but I do appreciate you guys being here this morning. I know it's earlier for some of you. We're in the afternoon session, so this is a lot earlier for you, and I really appreciate that a lot. But yeah, you're actually right, Zayna. It does show a commitment level that you guys are here, and I can't fault them too much. So they're getting marked absent. I don't know how long I'll be able to actually legally hold that, but it's working for me right now because of situations. And it is the big part of this for you guys, especially you guys are seniors. About half of the courses you take on college will be these distance type courses. It just works better. It works into your schedule better because there's more options for the time when the class is held. For those that go, and mark this on your calendars, it's another plug on that. April 1st, we'll be up at Weber. That program is catered to be able to work. So most of the classes don't start until 5 o'clock at night after the work day is over. And many of those are not in person, they're just online. So this is a good thing to get you kind of familiar with how the world is kind of moved and working. And we were moving that way before COVID. COVID kind of pushed things a little faster than some colleges are ready, but it does kind of get us in that mindset. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Zayden. This is a good group here, and all of you are really good designers. What you guys did in your houses was amazing, and so I'm kind of really excited to see what happens with this project. Last semester I did a hospital, and it just wasn't as excited of a project. Hospitals are sterile by nature. And I worked on one hospital project in my career, and really painful project to work on. You can't do anything fun. They just have to be functional. And this can be a fun project if you start thinking about everything that would be in a ranger station. And if you've been to a ranger station, think about what you wish was there. I know when I was younger, the ranger station is where you could find chocolate because, they always tell you, don't bring any candy or the bears will get you. But you can get to the ranger station, there's candy because there you can secure it. So think about things like that, those things that make life a little more enjoyable when we're out and about. So good thing. Any other questions from you? We're coming up on an hour here.
How can we help people who are having trouble with paying, even with all the help that we're getting from the district and everything?
Okay. We have a whole shop up on this floor. And in the past, when I've had kids going to national competitions, one of the easiest things to do is we get a bunch of scrap, and I have I have a shed full of construction scrap. Usually it's hardwood flooring from Park City, which is what this is. So it's oak and maple and some really pretty woods. Some of them are damaged a little bit, but what we do is we cut them into plaques and you sell them as house address numbers. So you go to your neighbor and you say, for 25 bucks, we'll put either your name or your house number or both on a plank of wood, and we'll put some eye bolts in it, and they can hang it from their front roof or whatever they want to hang it from, and mark their house address. So address that works really well. It doesn't take very many to make up the difference in the money you'll need. 10 homes at 25 bucks, there's $250 right there. Just 10 people needing their house address on a plank of wood. It's kind of helpful. Some people want their name on it. Some people want something a little more fancy. So there's a lot we can do using the lasers and on that sort of thing. That's a really quick and easy fundraiser.
6. So we have lasers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we do.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is. And so you would just schedule some time to come in and start making them, and for the ones you sell them to, and off you go, and you're no out-of-pocket expense at all. I'm not sure exactly what the cost will be with everything being more expensive now, but like I say, there's ways to work around those costs and get everywhere it's supposed to be. Absolutely, yeah, that works really well. Usually it takes a couple of weeks. You've got all the money you can need. It's not better than trying to sell mattress or pizzas or something weird like that, or chocolate that nobody likes.
Okay, well, thanks for that explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anybody else have any questions? Yolanda, you good? So now we go to the call out stage here. Eden, you got all your questions answered?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Jack, you excited?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I am too. I think this is gonna be a good project, and I think it'll go relatively quickly because of the scope of it. So the big thing for you to do today is just kind of work on the bubble diagrams, and I think most of this group, at least, you got the disclosures done. Course fee is pretty low on this one. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking, but that's okay. We got materials in the shop that you'll build your model from. There's lots of ways of building models. Some of the elements, if you need 3D printed, we can do that as well. So, there's quite a bit of that we can work on here. So again, if you want to work in groups, we'll talk about that on Tuesday. I believe everybody's gonna be back Tuesday, so that'll be good. And then keep in mind that we only have 4 days next week as well. We're missing a Friday again. So that's a little sad. All righty, my friends, that is it. That's my spiel. And then the rest of the time today would be working on your design concept. You get to kind of do that at home. But do use the internet, look at different structures in the area you're looking at. East Coast parks are very different from West Coast. North are different from the South. Hawaii's parks are very different. I mean, you got volcanoes in their parks. Yellowstone are from Wyoming and Idaho. The Utah parks, Canyonlands, Zions, all those down there. So pick your park, and then be willing to, if you decide to do as a group project, you are a little adaptable. The Utah parks all have kind of the same motif to them. So that kind of helps. But if you don't have any other questions and you're good to go, I'm gonna let you go about your day, and then you got a little bit of time before your next class you have to connect to, because technically you should have another class coming up this afternoon, but not till what, 1 o'clock for you guys?
Like something like 11, 12.
11 or 12. Okay, that's interesting. Oh yeah, because you guys get done here at 10:15.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I forget the high school schedules a little bit. Well, you got a little bit of time now. I would use it and finish up what's required for this first little bit. I think I only gave you guys like 2 or 3 assignments to work on. The bubble diagram being probably the most important and the ones that take the most of thought, because you have to list what you want included in your space before you start it. And so it's just to take a little bit of thinking about what you want to have there. Now, I'm not going to give you a list of things that have to be there other than what's here on the screen now. But if you want to add, like I said, we've talked about a few things: place to buy firewood, place to buy maps, place to buy camping gear, maybe a first aid station. You know, just think about what a forest ranger, I keep wanting to say fire ranger, what a forest ranger would have to go through and be able to live there and never leave for 10 months. That is the downside to the job of a forest ranger. It is one of the most coveted jobs in the United States, but it does have has some conditions to it. So. Okay, well, I will leave the room open for a little bit. If you have a question, I can leave it open for 40 minutes without anybody talking. So if you need to jump back in, it'll be here. Otherwise, you guys are good to go and do what you do so well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday. It's been a while.
Thanks. I'm actually gonna talk to you after.
Okay, I'll hang out.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to have you in class again. All right, Zayden, it's just you and I, mano a mano.
So, let's see. Sorry, I'm still in my bed.
I know, I can tell by your voice. Thank you for not turning your camera on while you're in bed, because I have a feeling you're a non-shirt sleeper.
Yeah, so when would be a good time for my dad to come in? Would it be okay for almost any class day?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
actually would. Yeah, if he wants to.
So
really
I
good.
can actually let him know that he's just been worried about timing and everything because he's not sure when he's okay to, and he's worried that you're not going to be able to when he can.
Yeah. So he's a licensed architect, right?
No, he does architectural design.
Right.
And
Okay.
he actually does a lot with 3D modeling
Okay.
and everything. He's very, very good with what he does.
So let me grab a calendar real quick, because this is about the right time for him to come in and kind of just talk about what he does, because it is a different career path. It's a viable career path. It's very similar to what I was doing on there. So anytime, well, let's just look. We could do the first week of February works good, or boy, I wish I had Friday would be next Friday would be perfect because you guys would have had Friday. The 27th, the 1st, or the 3rd. Any of those dates will work.
Okay, cool.
If
Thank
that works
you.
with his work schedule. I don't want to have him lose his work schedule, but
Yeah. So, sorry, 1 second.
that's okay.
All right. Can you say those again?
Yep. January 27th.
Oh, wait, 1 second. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Okay.
February 1st. Write it on my screen. Cool. Or February 3rd.
February 3rd. And then I'm going to take a screenshot.
Get you all fancy.
Use my eraser and try to get rid of everything.
I would go away when I turned it off anyway.
All right. Thank you.